you work very closely with the community council to do things. You give reports every month, as does Richard Young, the council of Pendray, who's on there. I find it's very important because not if we're not clued in on everything that's going on, overlap of work may happen.
Yeah.
What is your motivation to work closely with the council? Because we don't see all councillors working closely with community councils. See it in St Bride's Minor with Gareth
Yeah.
Thomas, Janice and David Lewis, and Tim Thomas in Anasaldra. He's lucky he's only got one ward.
Yeah.
They've only got one ward councillor in Tim Thomas, and he's very good. Yes, he is the chair of the council, but he still does a lot of work. I find it extremely helpful as a community councillor when you do give reports, when Richard does give reports on what's on in the area.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think I work, if I get information that I think the community council would benefit from, I forward the emails straight away to the clerk. And I think I've got a good relationship with the clerk as
Yeah.
well. I attend the meetings virtually and give updates every month. If I can't attend, I will send her a written update to circulate, because at the end of the day, your community councillors are representing the community as well. You were
Yeah.
all elected, whether you're a borough councillor or a community councillor, you were elected to do a job for your community, to make your community better. And I think that was the other thing that I was annoyed with before I stood for election, was the apathy in Coity. And it was, oh well, the community council is only there to empty bins, you're only there to do this and that, but you're not.
No.
You can do so much more. And that's proven now by the fact that BCBC are looking to community councils to asset transfer and to do other things because they
Yeah.
haven't got the budget for it. So there's so much more a community council can do. And I think if a community council can do it and do it quickly, why shouldn't they? Because I've approached the community council to ask for help with a number of issues
Yeah.
where BCBC have either said no or have said, it'll go on the forward work programme and it'll be done in about 4 or 5 years' time. When I contact the community council and it's put on the agenda and it's done within 2 months.
Yeah. And it's not
So,
it's not just the quickness at community councils do. We can see it actually can be cost effective, like we've done with the play parks. We actually get them done at a lower cost than what
yeah,
BCBC do, and
yeah,
we've refurbished a few play parks within Coity Hire at the moment, and we do it
yeah,
at a cheaper price than what the BCBC is doing. So effectively, it's good for value for money. Work and the county council need to work closer with community
we
councils to
say
do
this
things.
all the time. When it comes to planning, for example, they should be contacting and meeting with local members because local members know their area. Had I been a councillor when Park Derwent was built, I would have stood there and refused to leave until they'd included Heel Spencer in there. You know
Yeah,
the issues in your area, you know what the problem is. You should be involved. And likewise,
yeah,
community councils should be involved because you are made up of people from that community
yeah.
and you know the area, you know what's needed.
Yes, we are on the ground level quite often
Yeah,
at the community council, and yes, there's a lot of things we can't actually deal with, but we know the right place to go or where to send the right information, like to yourself or to a BC officer
yeah,
directly because we work closely with them. So
yeah,
community councils are great, and I think all community councils and county councils should work hand in hand because you get so much more done and more
yeah,
information isn't lost all over the place then because there's no communication between
yeah. I'm
two
looking at the
areas.
back, my background now on here. You can see the castle, you can see the
Yeah,
wall, and at the very bottom of the pavement, you can see bits of weeds coming through. Now, BCBC will spray that twice a year. The community council will send somebody out and they will just dig them up.
yeah,
And it gets done regularly and it's so much easier. It's also better because I'm able to, when areas aren't adopted, I'm able to get the community council support with, for example, things like Park Derwin. I spoke to the clerk last week and asked if we could, if that the community council could consider putting dog poo dispenser posts up
Yeah.
in Park Derwin. I've spoken to Persimmon and they've given the approval. They've said it's fine for them to go up as long as there's no cost to themselves. But if I went to BCBC, they couldn't do that until it was adopted.
No.
We're several years off adoption still, but it's a way of getting, because those people on that estate are still paying their council tax. They're
Yeah.
still paying everything and they're not getting much for it. They're getting social services, they're getting school, they're getting the libraries. Yes, that's paid for through there, and they're getting the Kia, but they're not getting the parks and the extras that other residents are getting. And they're paying more because their houses are newer, their bands are higher than a lot of the older houses,
Yeah.
and they're paying more council tax and yet getting less services. And the community council is a way of helping. If somebody comes to me with a query, and I will always say, oh, I'll see if it's a BCBC one. And if it's a one to do with one of the developments, well, I know they won't be able to do something there because
Yeah.
it's not adopted. However, I will speak to the community council.
And we will discuss it, I'm sure,
Yes.
at the next meeting
Yeah.
on the 12th. Anybody's welcome to come and listen in.
Yeah.
So you just contact the clerk and she will give you the details to come and listen in. And I highly advise you to come and listen in because there's a lot of things that gone. It sounds like some Martin broken
Oh.
something, has he?
That's probably the dog in the background in the other room.
Um, I was going to say, so, yeah, we've mentioned parks a bit, and there's been a little bit of things with parks on Park Derwin and on Tremacasteth as well over at
Yeah.
the Wimpy. I remember when I was standing in Litchard, I went round looking around the area, the whole of Coity Hire, and I remember that sign right at the front of Park Derwin that said, "Coming soon, new park, new park."
Yeah.
And apparently that had been up there for 6 years.
Yeah.
So, what are the situation with the parks in the new developments now?
Oh, right. We got another hour. Um,
Probably not.
the
No.
parks were one park was put in a Park Derwin initially, and I believe that Taylor Wimpey put that one in, and they put a bin in with it. The bin was soon removed because nobody would take on the emptying of the bin. So that park remained. It wasn't adopted. And so Persimmon said, we are not building any more parks until that one's adopted. So I said, right, okay. So I got in touch with BCBC. What are you going to do? Surely they're supposed to be building these parks. And why aren't you adopting that one if you'd agreed that you would adopt them as they were completed? So I met with BCBC, I met with the community council because the community council has an interest in this as well, because you can asset transfer the parks immediately over, so there's no cost to the local authority. So that was 2018, February 2018, I met with them. That park still hasn't been adopted, despite having assurances from BCBC that it would be. And
The community council.
back and forth, and further works being done by Persimmon because parks weren't happy with some of the apparatus, so they went and repaired them, did everything. So in the end, I got so frustrated, and this is where I've had to turn to the MP again, because when I would go to our MSs, they would never even acknowledge my correspondence, wouldn't even give me the courtesy of a response. When it was Carwyn, he never, ever, ever once responded to a single email or letter of mine, which is disappointing because he used to be a big part of Coity, and I used to do the fetes, and
He lived near.
he'd
He
come
used to live near there, didn't he? Near Coity.
because my system's frozen.
You're back.
Yeah. So yeah, fab, thanks. Yeah, and I used to do the fetes, and then before I was an independent councillor, I was okay to I could be spoken to. But as soon as I became an independent councillor, there are certain political parties that will not speak to me at all, or will go out of their way to not help. Which is a shame because I'm happy to work with anyone.
Yeah.
I
remember Carwyn actually called us ragtag
yeah.
group didn't he?
Yeah,
Um,
but I'm independent. I'm an independent councillor because I do not believe that party politics should play a role in local um, areas, in
yeah,
local decisions, because I will not be whipped by anyone to vote in a certain way. My husband will tell you that he cannot tell me what to do. Nobody will ever tell me what to do. I will do what's best for the people I serve. And if that upsets other people, it upsets other people. But I'm here for them, not for a political party or to follow a set of rules. I'm there to do what needs to be done and to be seen to be doing
yeah,
what's there to be done. And I'm not afraid to challenge anyone, as a lot of people will tell you in the council.
yes,
But yeah, so it's so I'm lucky that since Jamie Wallace has been elected, he has helped. So we met again with Persimmon about the state of the parks, and I tweeted them a lot as well. And they agreed to get some of the parks up and running. Now, I used to be on planning committee, and because they've put in additional houses in Park Derwin, it meant we had a little bit of leeway there where we could add some conditions with regards to the last play park.
mm,
Because technically we should have asked for a sum of money from Persimmon for play equipment because they were building over and above what was originally granted. So instead, we put the conditions in to say that after 50 houses are occupied on the new area, that park has to be complete and open for residents to use. So we could put that condition in, but unfortunately, the previous planning conditions there weren't any scales as to when parks had to be
yeah,
built. They just said a park has to be built here and a park has to be built there. So they have put in all the parks now, and they were put in. And originally, the park company, who I speak to, hoped to have them all completed by Easter, but they had to do a lot of groundworks because the ground's in a terrible state in some places up there. So the one park was completed at the end of Easter, 2 weeks after the Easter holidays, which was disappointing because the kids didn't have that park. So there are three other shiny parks ready to be opened. They look lovely. And so I thought, oh, well, if even if one or two are opened for the summer, but they didn't, they stayed there untouched. The landscapers had to come in and lay the grass. And then it would take 2 weeks for it to knit in. And then the parks company would come back and add the swings to the fixtures and the zip wire and everything, and they would be open. But unfortunately, there was no movement with Persimmon landscapers, so they've now come back and landscaped the area, and it's still all cordoned off. So hopefully, it won't be long before these parks are open. Because the poor children just sat there through, they're
yeah,
sitting in their gardens, sitting in the street, looking at these three parks that were shut up. Nobody could use. Now, I've got friends in Park Derwin who moved in the first lot of houses, and their children are now too old for the parks.
yeah,
They're in the upper years of comprehensive school doing their A levels. They're too
yeah,
old for these parks that they moved into thinking, oh, my children will use these parks. And you've got the same then in Tremacasteth. But the difference there is that's Taylor Wimpey land, and Taylor Wimpey gave the Section 106 money to BCBC for them to pay for the park to go in. Now, that money was paid to BCBC last March, and nothing's been done because they hadn't cleared the site. They've been using it as a storage area. I've been chasing for 2 years for that area to be cleared, and nothing had been done. And I've been told, oh, well, we will tell them, we will put enforcement, we will enforce it and take enforcement action, but nobody ever did. And it was like, oh, never mind, leave it be, sort of thing. So that park still hasn't gone in. So we haven't seen plans yet for the park and what they're intending to do there. And these children there, again, are growing up. They're too
yeah,
they're going to be too old. But I feel for them over in Tremacasteth and Gertha because they're isolated, because they've got a big link road. You cannot send your children on their own into the village swing park or up to
yeah,
Park Derwin. It's not safe. So they are stuck. There's nothing. They've got a bypass there and no other green space. At least Park Derwin does have the odd bit of green space
yeah.
even though it's poorly landscaped, and I wouldn't let my children play in most areas because you wouldn't know what you'd find in there. But they've still got other places to go.
Yeah.
Whereas over there, they've got absolutely nothing. So I keep raising it and raising it with BCBC, and I'm yet to be told when it's going to
No,
be completed. And it just makes me want to pull my hair out.
it's a shame for the children on Gare Castle and Trevor Castle because there is a nice park behind the castle as well, which
Yeah,
isn't really too far
but
away, but there's no
it's not. But it's
safe
not big
crossing.
enough. No, it's not big enough either for all of that estate
No.
as well. And when you buy a house, and most houses these days on new estates have children in them, you know, that you want facilities there for them. They grow up too quickly.
Yes, it's a shame. Community council loves to help as much as we can. We even said we would probably take the capital asset transfer of that park back in 2018,
Yeah,
but we were prevented from doing anything because BCBC won't. Until they do something, we can't do anything.
no,
We're not even
no,
allowed to just say let's cut out BCBC and take it ourselves.
yeah, yeah.
We have to wait for them to adopt it, prove it,
And
and then
everything is so slow in BCBC.
yeah.